Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. 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 Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Pranam, pranam.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om.
Pranam Swamiji.
Pranam, pranam.
Namaskaram Swamiji.
Namaskaram.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om, Hari Om. As usual, we thought we would share something about an email which we received from one of you that was about Mahatma Ji. On 2nd October, we all intensely remembered his inspiring life and mission. On 3rd, we thought we would share, but somehow something got preoccupied. But today, when we received that email, again we were reminded. And just before coming here, we were sharing some thoughts. It so happened that God wanted us to dwell on Mahatma Ji's life. Only after coming in contact with Papa, we came to know that he was a God-realized soul. Until such time, we were all knowing him right from our school days as the father of the nation, as a main pillar or main leader of our freedom movement. He was instrumental for our Khadi movement. He was instrumental for nature cure. He was instrumental for basic education, cottage industries. Like that, so many activities. But we never knew that he was essentially a man of God. Only after coming in contact with Papa's teachings, we came to know, because in the first book you will find, he has mentioned about 3 who were in body: Jesus, Lord Buddha, and Mahatma Gandhi of our own times. Then later on, he has also, Papa has also expressed so many things about Mahatma Ji. So first we will read one article of Mahatma Ji, article about Mahatma Ji by Papa. To introduce the world famous figure Mahatma Gandhi to the reader would be to attempt at exhibiting the sun with the help of a taper light. For the Mahatma's name and life have become household words amongst the people in every part of the globe. When dealing with the life and teachings of great saints like him, our task is not to assume the attitude of a critic, but to pay our wholehearted homage to their spiritual greatness. Mahatma Gandhi, in whatever spheres of life his activities have flowed, is essentially a man of God, a man whose supreme power and virtue lie in his magnificent influence in awakening humanity to the eternal verities of life and leading it on to the height of moral and spiritual culture. It is well known that the Mahatma stands for the cult of non-violence, which he holds forth, just as Yudhishthira in days of yore did, as the highest principle of human life. Both East and West have recognized in him a divine messenger of peace upon this earth, which we, as we see, is rent with strife, dissension, and war. It is not an exaggeration to say that the impact of Mahatma's godly life has influenced and transformed millions of souls, both young and old, of all nations and races of the world. Sri Krishna in the Gita says, "Wherever the splendor of greatness is, there I am revealed." Among the outstanding luminous souls of the day, Mahatma Gandhi is a very incarnation of divine light and peace. His rigid asceticism, his uncompromising adherence to the creed of Ahimsa, his one sole aim of bringing about peace and harmony among the warring people of the world, are things that have placed him on a lofty pedestal for adoration as a unique and dazzling ideal for everyone to follow. The Mahatma's phenomenal fame has spread to every corner of the earth, and his mighty influence wields the hearts of a great part of mankind. Yet, as an egoless and innocent child, he is so simple, so unassuming, so oblivious of his exalted status. We can only pray that his thrilling message of goodwill, brotherhood, may enter into the recesses of all human hearts in the world and dispel from it every passion and impulse that seeks to raise the dust of chaotic wars that spell disaster to and destruction of the human race. Of the whole thing, if you remember this word, in Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, wherever the splendor of greatness is there, goodness is there, there I am revealed. So goodness is godliness. So here, among the outstanding luminous souls of the day, Mahatma Gandhi is a very incarnation of divine light and peace. So we remember him as spiritual children of beloved Papa. We try to draw inspiration from his various writings. Then we come to know that whatever we hear through Papa's words, he is echoing the same thing from Gandhiji's also. Gandhiji also says, there is an indefinable mysterious power that pervades everything. I feel it, though I don't see it. It is this unseen power which makes itself felt and yet defies all proof, because it is so unlike all that I perceive through my senses. It transcends the senses. It is the one behind the senses, So the senses cannot perceive it. I do dimly perceive that while everything around me is ever changing and ever dying, there is underlying all that change a living power that is changeless, that holds all together, that creates, dissolves, recreates. This informing power or spirit is God. The truth is that God is the force. He is the essence of life. He is pure, undefiled consciousness. He is eternal. And yet, strangely enough, all are not able to derive, either benefit from or shelter in the all-pervading living presence, L capital. Electricity is a powerful force. Not all can benefit from it. It can only be produced by following certain laws. It is a lifeless force. Man can utilize it if he can labor hard enough to acquire the knowledge of its laws. The living force, which we call God, can similarly be followed if we know and follow His law, leading to the discovery of Him in us. God is an unseen power residing within us. There are many powers lying hidden within us, and we discover them by constant struggle. Even so, we may find this supreme power if we make diligent search with a fixed determination to find Him. My God does not reside above. He has to be realized on earth. He is here, within you, within me. He is omnipotent. He is omnipresent. You need not think of the world beyond. If you can do your duty here, the beyond will take care of itself. Like that, many of his followers were able to compile a book called Pathway to God, compilation of Gandhiji's entire teachings, helping us to move towards the remembrance of God. One more uniqueness is, though he was very clear about the impersonal aspect of God, he never kept himself aloof from the creation. Just like Papa used to say, Jnanottara Bhakti, his bhakti is towards God who is seated in all creations, not to a particular form only. At the same time, you will know from the history that when the so-called then labeled untouchables were prevented to enter into temples to offer their worship to the Lord in that form, Gandhiji took the initiative of temple entries. We have never heard Gandhiji going into a temple. He was thoroughly clear about the impersonal aspect which is all-pervading. But at the same time, he never belittled the importance of image worship or idol worship. So he wanted those who are not in a position to dwell on him in the impersonal aspect. Certainly they can go through the personal aspect also. That is why he took the moment of temple entry. He had also mentioned this very clearly. If somebody were to tell me that we can realize God by going to Himalayas, I would have done it, he said. But then only he said, I knew that he is not beyond his creation. So to serve his creation is to serve him, to love his creation is to love him. He says, whatever I do is all aimed at realization of the Supreme. And his faith was something rock-like. God is, even though the whole world deny him, God is. Even though the whole world denies him, God embraces not only this tiny globe of ours, but millions and millions of such globes. How can we, little crawling creatures, so utterly helpless as he has made us, how could we possibly measure his greatness, his boundless love, his infinite compassion? So great is his infinite love and pity that he allows man even to deny him, wrangle about him, and cut the throats of his fellow men. How can we measure the greatness of God, who is so forgiving, so divine? He allows us freedom, and yet his compassion commands obedience to his will. If anyone else disdains to bow to his will, this is another aspect. Even if we deny him, God will not deny us anything. He says, my sun will shine no less for thee. My clouds will rain no less for thee. I need not force thee to accept my sway. Of such a God, let the ignorant dispute the existence. I am one of the millions of wise men who believe in him and never tired of bowing to him and singing his glory. God is the hardest taskmaster I have known on this earth. He tries you through and through. And when you find your faith is failing, or your body is failing you, and you are sinking, he comes to your assistance and somehow or other proves to you that you must not lose your faith and that he is always at your beck and call, but on his terms. So I have found, I cannot recall a single instance when, at the 11th hour, he has forsaken me. And that is why he was right from the beginning, he was a great votary of Ramnam. When he was a child, when on those days, even unknowingly parents also used to tell about ghosts and this, and somehow a fear for ghosts that might creep into all of our life. So when he was also subjected to go through such a one, his ayah, Rambha, she told, don't worry, whenever such fear comes, hold on to Rama, 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 Rama. He is the sole protector. Within ourselves, he is there and he will protect us. From that day onwards, he was relying on Ramnam. And his Ram also stood for the impersonal truth. Though later on when he was in his prayer meetings, he used to have Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sita Ram. So then somebody asked him, he said, yes, it is this impersonal aspect is also there in the personal aspect. But at the same time, when we develop our bhakti, devotion towards the deity, we should be careful that we should know that we have to keep on reminding that the deity is in the hearts of all, not to a particular place and not to a particular form. That means through the name, through the form, he wants us to transcend the name and form. So he was holding on to Ramnam always. And his faith in Ramnam is something like, which we cannot even imagine forget about practicing it. We cannot imagine. He says, my Ram is not the historical Ram. He is the eternal, the unborn, the one without a second. Him alone I worship. I have said that to take Ramnam from the heart means deriving help from the incomparable power. The atom bomb is nothing compared with it. This power is capable of removing all pain. There is no doubt whatsoever that Ramnam contains all the power that is attributed to it. No one can, by mere wishing, enshrine Ramnam in his heart. Untiring effort is required, as also patience. What an amount of labor and patience have been lavished by men to acquire non-existent philosopher's stone. Surely God's name is of infinitely richer value. And he concludes, with my hand on my breast, I can say that not a minute in my life am I forgetful of God. We all know that even when the bullet pierced his heart, he only said, "O Ram." No? A devotee of Rama may be said to be the same as the steadfast one, Sthita Prajna of the Gita. He will live in the consciousness of the soul and look to the care first and last of the indweller. Such a man will take God's name with every breath. What is the mark of man who has Rama enshrined in the heart? These are all something for us to remember. Na? Such a man will take God's name with every breath. His Rama will be awake even while the body is asleep. Rama will always be with him in whatever he does. The real death for such a devoted man will be loss of the sacred companionship. When as a child my nurse taught me to repeat Ramnam whenever I felt afraid or miserable, and it has been my second nature with me. With growing knowledge and advancing years, I may even say that the word is in my heart, if not actually on my lips, all the 24 hours. It has been my savior, and I am ever stayed on it. Though my reason and heart long ago realized the highest attribute and name of God as truth, I recognize truth by the name of Rama. In the darkest hour of my trial, that one name has saved me and is still saving me. Rama is the strength of the weak. This strength is not to be obtained by taking up arms or similar means. It is to be had by throwing oneself on his name. Rama is but a synonym of God. You may say God or whatever other name you like, but the moment you trust not but him, you are strong. All disappointment disappears. Ramnam is an alchemy, such as one can transform the body. The conservation of the vital energy has been likened to accumulated wealth, but it is in the power of Ramnam alone to make it a running stream of ever-increasing spiritual strength, ultimately making a fall impossible. Just as the body cannot exist without blood, so the soul needs the matchless and pure strength of faith. This strength can renovate the weakness of all man's physical organs. That is why it is said that when Ramnam is enshrined in the heart, it means the rebirth of a man. This law applies to the young, the old, the man, the woman alike. In this book, the compiler has been kind enough to categorize it, no? Gandhian literature means it runs in so many books and pages. Gandhiji, beloved Papa was a great admirer of Gandhiji, and he used to read regularly Harijan and Young and Ethical Religion book. And he quotes freely many from Gandhiji's. So here, this book, just for your information, he has categorize it as intellectual sadhana, moral sadhana, spiritual sadhana, and some aspects of experience. Here, God is one without a second. He is omnipresent, omnipotent, like that, God. Then, spark of divinity. Man is the image of God. Life is a mere bubble. And third one, the world is one body. Universe, a family of nations. What is truth? Truth is the source of character. Love, that is ahimsa. Love unites. Love is life. Self-restrained. He gives a lot of importance for control of the mind, control of the palate. We were just sharing to some friends. If one has to join Gandhiji's ashram, he has to take to 11 vratas. It's a must. Ekadasha vratas. Satyam, ahimsa, brahmacharyam, asteyam, aparigraham, aswad, control of the palate. Sharirashramam, nirbhayatvam, fearlessness. And then Swadeshi on those days. Then equal respect for all dharmas, sarva dharma samabhavana. Like that, there are 11 vratas one has to observe. He was very strict about it. And as far as possible, 100%, one should not trouble others. When we go through the 12th chapter, where the Lord defines who is my dearest devotee, in one of the slokas he says, Anapeksha shuchihi dakshaha Udasino gatavyata sarvaramba parityagi yomad bhakta samepriya. Anapeksha. And he will not compromise on this, That means we should not depend upon others for anything. Unless you are sick or something. He was very strict. One incident comes that whoever is in the ashram, whenever they go out and come back, okay, they have to wash their own clothes. So one day Devadas Gandhi, the youngest one, came after a tour. It was night. So because he was on tour, he was not able to wash his clothes. But when he looked tired, Ba said, you first eat. I will assist you in brushing. And by the time he was eating, Ba went, Sabarmati river is just near Sabarmati ashram. So there, she washed her clothes. Somehow Gandhiji came to know about it. Next day morning in the prayer time, he announced, nobody should wash their clothes today. All are to keep their dresses here. Yesterday, Baha saw Devadas Gandhi a little different from others, because she washed. So as a part of that, I am equally responsible. Whatever Baha did this, I am responsible. Whatever I do, Baha is responsible. So we both of us will wash the entire clothes. That is how, in order, why this is being stressed, this anapeksha, not depending upon anybody for anything, not troubling, not out of arrogance, not out of assertion, not to trouble others for the basic, my requirement. As far as possible, I should not trouble others for me. Like that, the philosophy he practiced was practical. Some of you might be knowing that they were not accepting any cash offering for the ashram. Cash is needed only for salt, matchbox, and just now we were reminded about kerosene. On those days, kerosene also is needed for lamps, Otherwise, everything one has to cultivate, produce. When we go to Pavanar on our way to Sevagram, we can still feel the, what do you call, oil extracting, small equipments. You can have the flavor of till oil, coconut oil, mustard oil, everything. So he was also encouraging cottage industry. Everything should be done by them, you know. Probably on those days there was no expeller. So it was done with the help of bullocks. Field is there, there they grow rice and other pulses. Water is drawn from the well. So a very simple life. Today's ashram life and that ashram life, that was the real ashram. We cannot imagine that, you know. Cleaning, everything has to be done by oneself. Because that was the sadhana prescribed. Individual sadhana will help us to go deeper and deeper. That is why he was very particular about this Ekadasha Vratam. We were just narrating when Sevagram was there, they were not to accept any cash offering. So you might have heard, many of you might have heard about Sri Gopinathan Nair, revered Gopinathan Nair, who recently passed away. He was in his late 90s, who had the privilege of witnessing Gandhiji at Calcutta when he took the last vow to bring harmony among the warring Muslim-Hindu riots. Then there he, by his fast, by his spiritual influence, he was able to motivate all people to come there and praise the, the dagger, this and that, whatever weapons they used to kill each other. So he was telling us, he was one among the 5 lakhs people on those days. And this Gopinathan Nair Sahib, he was the president of Sevagram Ashram for nearly more than 16, 17 years. So he was giving us this, whenever he comes to ashram, we used to request him to share. Well studied, not only Gandhian thoughts, he is up to date with everything, Upanishads, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, but the interpretation will be slightly different from the traditional interpretation. It will be linked to the practical life. So once he said, when Manmohan Singh became the Prime Minister of India and when he had been to Sevagram, seeing the pitiable condition, he thought, they can renovate or do whatever they like. So he sumoto sanctioned 5 crore grant. When the check or draft was received by the then president, it was a shock to them. They have not so far accepted anything. So what to do now? It was sent by the Prime Minister of India, that too unasked, that too a figure of 5 crores. So he immediately convened a meeting of all Gandhians, previous presidents, and placed before them. So Gopinathan Nair said, there was a brainstorming session. Because the new generation is also there. Their interpretation will be slightly different, though they are basically honest, sincere, selfless, noble people. But their interpretation will be something different. So finally, what prevailed was to go back to the dictum of Vinobaji at the time of starting Sevagram. Many of you might know or might not know that when Gandhiji decided to have Sevagram Ashram, he entrusted the job to Vinobaji to set up everything and also the code of conduct. So Vinobaji at that time made it very clear that no cash offering, because now today we start accepting the cash. We all know in the ashram now, Previously, whatever is received, it was spent. There was no statute. There was no need for accounts. There was no accountability. Today now it is considered statutorily as the public funds. Though ashram is not asking, still it is a public fund. So we are answerable. So that means we have to have proper accounts. Every expenditure has to be supported by proper voucher. Every receipt has to be properly accounted with the details of the donor. And then every year we have to file the return. There will be scrutiny of accounts. All our accounts should be audited. No, all these things are there. And there will be bank account. There will be operations. With all these, what is getting diluted unknowingly? Our commitment toward the ideal. When we keep on trying to go through these, unknowingly, unwittingly, we move away from the ideal. It gets, the priority was probably for the ideal. I joined the organization because of the ideal it represents, not because of anything, A spiritual aspirant joins an ashram not because of anything else, but because of the ideal. And later on what happens? When the comfort zones are more and more, when all these things are done, how do the comfort zone expand? Because of the incoming funds. And then my attitude my approach towards the ideal gets unknowingly, faded. And I may be an efficient manager of an organization, but I may be far off from the ideal. So seeing all these things, Vinobaji made it very clear that ashram will not accept any cash offering. So finally that prevailed, and the offering was sent back to the Prime Minister expressing their gratitude. And then Gopinathan Nair said, suppose we accept 5 crores today. Gandhiji's ashram, nowadays anybody would do that. Anybody would like to know what is done by Gandhiji's ashram. And so they will keep on donating. And it has to be deposited in a bank. Then the interest, when the interest rate goes, you get grumbling and complain. Previously we were getting 8%, 9%. Now we are only getting 5%, 6%. See, this whole thing has gone. And today you get 5 crores. Somebody comes tomorrow to give you another 1 crore or 50 lakhs or 5 lakhs. You will start accepting. Then you have to have bank accounts. Then you have to have authorization. Who will be the signatory? Then you will have accounts. Then you will have vouchers. Then you will start suspecting others. You will say that misappropriation will take place. Whole thing. Possessions will keep on adding. And the possession will keep on adding outwardly. Possessiveness will keep on adding internally. So many untold things will happen. So this is what, So Gandhiji receives, spends. Same. We remember Papa Mataji, when Papa was in Kasaragod ashram, that is after his first itinerant yatra, when he was touring again, when he went again, and finally when he came back, his brother requested him or commanded him not to go anywhere. So they put up a small thatched shed near Kasaragod, and they requested him to stay there. While he was staying there, he had not touched the money. You remember in Quest of God, when after the Srirangam trip, whatever 9 rupees or something we had, he entrusted to the Sadhu Ram and told him to make changes and then distribute it. From that day onwards, he was not touching. So when somebody, thought he may require something, so on those days the only way was to send money was by MO. So when the MO was sent, Papa had not touched it, returned back. Food was sent by somebody. Bas. To clothes, that's all. A few books. Minimum possession, barest minimum possession. So when this ashram was set up, and when he had to, previously, whatever that comes, it was going like that. It was a small ashram. Mataji's wish to meet the requirements of the devotees, that had resulted in slowly getting expanded. But even then she was all, whenever money comes to her, in no time, she will spend it back. So when Papa Mataji, devotees pressed them for a global tour. We were told that Bombay devotees, they consulted the legal luminaries and they said that a trust has to be set up. So in 1954, this Anandashram trust came into being. And in that, Papa made it very clear that there shall not be any fixed deposits or corpus. Very clear. About then we started thinking. If we start thinking about corpus with good intention, later on we will find that whatever money is part of it, we will unknowingly set apart for corpus building, you know? And our mind will justify inflation is going on, cost of living is going on, the interest rate is coming down. So unless and until we mop up more and more of this thing, we will not be able to meet the demands, something like that. But Papa was very clear about it. Money is needed, no doubt. But at the same time, God provides through one hand, takes it through another hand. And later on, statute also came, you know. According to the statute now, charitable institutions must spend 85% of their income. Only 15% they can carry over. In exceptional cases, they are given the permission to carry over to the next. Suppose on March 15th, a big amount comes. They will not be able to spend it, no? So considering that, suppose they have got a project, a long-time project, for which funds are needed. They may not be able to spend it in that year itself. So that's, if the government is convinced, if the department is convinced, they will give a special exemption where they can carry over. That's all. So why we remember all these things? You know, Gandhiji is holding on to that anapeksha. That means we are not depending upon anything. We are only depending upon God and God alone. And to constantly make us remember chanting of His name. And all these things should not limit us or deny us from becoming insensitive to the sufferings and demands of our co-creation. We should be sensitive. That's what Gandhiji teaches us. Under the banner of spiritual discipline, you don't sit and cut yourself off from the common run of life. Then you may develop a feeling that is totally different from spiritual life. Whereas he was able to harmoniously blend spiritual and worldly life. There are so many facets. And whatever he said, he experimented first. It was neither a tall talk nor a simple talk. Every revelation that he shared with the public came from his own experience. He will first experiment it and then practice it. On 2nd October, a nearby school was celebrating, and we had the privilege of going there and sharing some anecdotes. One anecdote that always comes to us is why Gandhiji was not wearing a shirt even, no? As Winston Churchill said, half-naked fakir, no? So there is a story. When he was touring Tamil Nadu, on that particular day, almost all audience, excepting the ladies, gents, they were not having even the upper cloth. They were all having only one cloth. Then when asked, they said they cannot afford to have. They are all daily wage earners. So he came back. He removed the shirt. Mahadev Desai, his private secretary, he came and said, Bapuji, can we go to the next program? Yes, I am. Then get ready. Yes, I am ready. No, you've not done this. You have to put on your shirt, No shirt. Until everybody gets the shirt. Until everybody gets the upper cloth. And so he said, it kept on reminding him about the Daridra Narayan. That is why he was prompted to take up this charka. Because through weaving, he said he was connecting himself to the Daridra Narayan. Even while the deliberations are going on, the Charka operation was going on. On those days that was needed. Swadeshi. So what we are trying to understand, it is practical. No? It is not a philosophy, it was not a tall talk. At the same time, only after implementing it, he said. Once he was moving from one place to another, when we say Nirbhayatvam, big estates, tea estates, rubber estates, indigo, plantation, everything was held by Britishers only. So in one tea estate, the report came that the plight of the laborers were miserable. 7 or 7:30, they have to go to the roll call, work throughout the day, and they were all housed in a hall. No privacy for one group, for families even. So ultimately, these news, they reached Gandhiji. So Gandhiji decided to go there and study the problem and try to see what can be done. At that time, when the estate owner came to know that Gandhiji was likely to visit, he said, the moment he lands, I will shoot him. And it was made public. So when Gandhiji decided to go, the farmers and the local people were very much frightened about this. And so they rushed for nearest railway station. And before allowing Gandhiji to get down, they said, you may please move, because that man will do what he says. What did he say? So they said, Gandhiji will be shot. Gandhiji said, don't worry, God is great. So he got down. He was housed where they had originally planned. And at the dead of night, 12 o'clock, when he ensured that all have gone to deep sleep, he alone, before that he has found out where the Britisher, the owner, stays. He went there by walk and reached there at the dead of the night, knocked at the door. At this hour, who is to come? So the owner himself came and opened. Then he saw Gandhiji. Then he said, I am told that you wanted to shoot me. I am available now. If that can solve the problem, very nice. Nobody will see it. That particular aspect, the approach, without criticizing, grumbling, complaining, finding fault, when he offered himself to him, that instantly he was transformed. He took Gandhiji inside, made him to sit, heard what all Gandhiji had to say, and promised him that he would not repeat all those things again. The condition of the workers will be definitely provided with more and more facilities. He will not do that. He became a great admirer of Gandhiji. So when he said Nirbhayatvam, he had experimented upon himself, and then only he preached everything. Whatever he thought, he talked. Whatever he talked, he practiced. Because, to him, truth was God. So truth means, thought, word and deed. It should be there throughout. Not talking something, not thinking something, and talking something, and doing something. Through his very life, there have been many anecdotes through which he has conveyed to us these sublime, profound ideas, not as a philosophy, but as an experiential revelations. Papa had written so many articles about Gandhiji. In one of his articles, under the title Universal Religion, Papa writes, now coming to our own times, mention may be made of a few spiritual heroes who have achieved worldwide renown. In India, Gandhi, Ramana, Aurobindo, Rabindranath, Krishnamurti, and Vaswani. Like that in all countries, he selects. Wherever great men were there. So the idea is people, especially as spiritual children of Papa, we keep on reminding ourselves about the inspiring life and mission all these great men placed before us. Because we are every day, day to day, dealing with the world outside. Our mind will keep on interpreting about the various ups and downs, which we have named it as ups and downs. We get elated when there is up. We get depressed when there is down. So our attitude towards God, our attitude towards God in forms, and it all subject to changes. We will always forget that it is the play of Him. So in order that we always get riveted to His thought, we have been asked to go through the biographical sketches of the great masters, to remember them at least on certain occasions, so that will go slowly, percolate into our thoughts. Somewhere in the corner of our mind it will be there. So in times of need, though we may commit mistake, though we may forget, at least we will be made aware that we should not have done, we should not have thought like that, we should not have thought in terms of me and mine. It should have been me to we, not me to me. Now look here, somebody sent an email, and what it has produced in us. I will read out the email. His father, this devotee's father, was telling about Mahatma Ji, which was in his mind. Now it just came. See the impact. As there was some problem yesterday at the closing phase of Satsang, a point we wanted to share with all could not be expressed. That is, my father used to say, Mahatma Gandhiji's inner strength was so much powerful that even a cannonball could not have pierced his chest, let alone the small bullet fired by Godse by killing him. He himself probably wanted such an end for his noble mission. Papa also says it was Svecha Maranam. Second, being the Jayanti of the Father of the Nation, we thought of sharing this Hari Om. But what his father shared, that will ignite, so many things that were lying down in our heart. We have heard so much, We have taken part in so many programs. We must have read so many books. And all those things get revived. It was somewhere in the corner of our mind. And this offers an opportunity for us to remember, which will help us in our spiritual progress. Not for the personal worship of a person, but it will ultimately help us to know the values for they stood, and those values would definitely help us to make our move faster towards Him. So that is why probably he willed that through this email, all these thoughts should be shared with you. Now, anything else?
Swamiji, when we are at times when we say Hari Om Narayana, but how about Swamiji Daridra Narayana?
Daridra Narayana means, people, all are his creation. We see when somebody is suffering, yes. He named the untouchables as Harijan. Hari means God, Hari stands for. So like that, we only say poor people. Nowadays say backward. There is not backward.
Below poverty line.
Below the poverty line, yeah. Below the poverty line, we say BPL card. So instead of telling that, he wanted to connect God in the form of poverty also. So he places before us, you see why poverty came? Because there should be a field for us to express our deep concern for our co-creation. Na?
Yes, yes.
So the field cannot be created by us. So in his creation, he has devised it in such a way that there will be a segment who needs our love and service.
Sure.
If the field is not there, I may be reading or having academic knowledge about compassion or sharing or selflessness or this or that. But how do I know that this is possible? The field for a compassion, the field for selflessness, the field for forgiving, it should be there. Then only all these things have got. The field for loving, the field for absence of otherness, we are not creating. So God knew that when He created all of us, when He made us to forget about Him and engage ourselves in various activities, it is likely that the me to me may become stronger and stronger in us. So in order to tame that me to me and to divert it to me to we, there should be a field. And that is why the field is created, and He in His own mysterious ways makes us to get connected with that. So He named it as Daridra Narayan. That's all.
Thank you. Hari Om, Swami.
Hari Om, Hari Om. He says, a life of service must be one of humility. He who could sacrifice his life for others has hardly time to reserve for himself a place in the sun. Inertia must not be mistaken for humility, as it has been in Hinduism. True humility means most tremendous and constant endeavor, entirely directed toward the service of humanity. God is continuously in action without resting for a single moment. If we should serve Him or become one with Him, our activity must be unwearied as His. There may be momentary rest in store for the drop which is separated from the ocean, but not for the drop in the ocean, which knows no rest. The same is the case with ourselves. As soon as we become one with the ocean in the shape of God, there is no more rest for us, nor indeed do we need rest any longer. Our very sleep is action, for we sleep with the thought of God in our hearts. This restlessness constitutes true rest. This never ceasing agitation holds the key to peace ineffable. The supreme state of total surrender is difficult to describe, but not beyond the bounds of human experience. It has been attained by many dedicated souls and may be attained by ourselves as well. My patriotism is for me a stage on my journey to the land of eternal freedom and peace. Thus it will be seen that for me, that there is no politics devoid of religion. They subserve religion. When he uses the word religion, it is not to be understood as religion we understand today. For spirituality. Then the word religion stood for spirituality. Because he says, it's a Greek word or Latin word, we don't know. Binding back to the source, that is what religion stands for. They subserve religion. Politics bereft of religion is a death trap because they kill the soul. I am here to serve no one else but myself, to find my own self-realization through the service of this village folk. Man's ultimate aim is the realization of God. These are Gandhiji's words. And all his activities, social, political, religious, have to be guided by the ultimate aim of the vision of God. The immediate service of human being becomes necessary part of the endeavor, simply because, this is very important, the only way to find God is to see Him in His creation and be one with it. This can be done only through one's country. I am part and parcel of the whole, and I cannot find Him apart from the rest of humanity. My countrymen are my nearest neighbors. They have become so helpless, so resourceless, so inert that I must concentrate on serving them. If I could persuade myself that I should find Him in Himalayan cave, I would proceed there immediately, but I knew that I cannot find him apart from humanity. So at the time when we remember about Gandhi Jayanti, as Pipa's spiritual children, we all remember practical spirituality, practical way of harmonizing or implementing or actualizing the spiritual values in workaday life. That is what Gandhiji placed before us. So we are all deeply grateful to Papa for having touched and kindled on this great Mahatma by connecting us to a simple worded email from a devotee. The tremendous impact, you see. 1 hour had gone because of that one small expression in the email. And we were going through. It is not that we are trying to understand Gandhiji here. We are trying to understand something more about what is to be done in our move towards him. In what way I can effectively move towards him. On that aspect, Gandhiji's words have been very inspiring, very assuring. So we are deeply, deeply, deeply grateful to Papa for having prompted us to do so. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai 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 Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. One more thing. Day before yesterday, somebody showed us a video. The central government's, some Ministry of Information, we don't they have brought out a series of videos, 5 minutes, from different countries. They were singing Vaishnava Jagato. And their own people, including China. Many of them, they went to that place and they impressed, must be, we don't know what they did. But there are so many countries.
124 countries.
124 countries. Vaishnava Janato, and clearly tell. Beautiful, very inspiring. Because they are all reminded through Vaishnava Janato Gandhiji, you know. Vaishnava Janato is such a beautiful prayer composed by Narsi Mehta, just as who is the dearest devotee of God, he also defines who is a true Vaishnava, devotee of God. And the government was kind enough to take up the initiative. It's a big project to visit 124 countries where their tongue may not even spell this Vaishnava. And all countries of different people with different faith, all singing this Vaishnava Janata. Wonderful. Hari Om. You may also try in your mobile. Hari Om. Yeah. Pranam, pranam, pranam. Hari Om, Hari Om. Pranam.